and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody in between and all over the world, welcome to the last game slot, the 5 o'clock appointment here on Wednesday. I mean, it might be a hump day, but we've seen jumps, lumps, and bumps throughout an exciting day of Ultimate across these 2 pitches and 5 time slots. I am Lorcan Murray, and I am joined by the Ultimate Encyclopedia Britannica that is Sean Colfer. Sean, how are you?
I am well, thank you. I'm not sure how you would live up to being an Encyclopedia Britannica, but I'll give it a shot.
That is not held in as high as an esteem in this island, so don't worry.
Yeah,
it's a low bar to reach. But it's a very high bar facing the Swiss as they are out here battling that powerhouse of European Ultimate, Great Britain, forward to Mead, 2 absolute leaders for what has to be over a decade in some people's eyes in British Ultimate. Mead getting a little bit on a step ladder to pull that one down. Ford, maybe a slight overthrow. Long swings it all the way across the pitch, and Mead collects. Yo is forming the little bridge in between. Long, Ford, and Ford immediately launches, looking for Funk. And the Music Man delivers.
Nice opening point from GB. Switzerland decided to come out with a zone, and you could see early on in the point, Funk pointing towards that space. There was no one near him. The Swiss zone had all kind of collapsed towards the disc, and a thrower of Justin Ford's quality can pick him out very easily. But nice movement. The Swiss maybe going to have to try and tweak something there because it didn't look like it really produced a great deal of pressure on the GB throwers. You can actually see Funk pointing there with his left hand, pointing at that space, and off it goes. So GB coming into this, you would guess Lorcan as the favourites for the game. I think that's not too much of a stretch to say.
Homerism at its finest, Sean. But also, you know, strikingly accurate. GB. Am I correct in saying they're undefeated so far?
Undefeated so far, yep.
Whereas on the opposite side, the Swiss only have 1 victory over the Netherlands, themselves having a bit of a frustrating tournament.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
A certain orange bloom that has wilted, shall we say, here in the Limerick sun. Do not adjust your computer screens. It is sunny right now.
It's actually sunny. That is true.
Splitting the rocks, as my grandfather would have said. As now the Swiss going to have to try and find a way to split through this GB defense.
Didn't touch it. Well, that's good at least.
Fortunate for Gilles Nive. So Nive walking to the front and facing an English zone in response, a Great British zone in response, forgive me. Nive recycles back immediate to Gadimir. The Swiss will have to take their time initially perhaps to get a little bit comfortable against this. So they are swinging it in their own end zone, but doing so fairly confidently. So nothing too precious right now. Nive. And Gadimir. Big hammer over the top. They're going to need to take on shots like this to find the space. Vik just about escaping the intentions of the British defense. And able to get that swing going very nicely. Again, massive layout. Hayden Slaughter murdered that attempt. The eponymous defender with a phenomenal layout grab. And then coming back on for the under, shooting deep. A cherry on the top, and on another huge layout. This time it's Joel Terry.
Well, GB making it exciting. That is an absolutely unbelievable D and a great catch from Joel Terry.
So the Terry on top of that cake of a play by Hayden Slaughter.
Really, really good D from GB. We saw the Swiss zone come out, struggle to get pressure on the disc handlers, whereas the GB zone comes out, and the Swiss look a bit disconnected. They weren't swarming Joel Terry in the middle, made it really difficult for their handlers. Had to have that hammer over the top and open up the field because there was really not much there, as we see an amazing play by Hayden Slaughter. And then, honestly, when he launched it, I thought that's a typical throw and kind of, you know, when you get the D and you kind of lose your mind a little bit and you think, oh, I can do anything. But Joel Terry bailing it out with a fantastic catch and toe tap in the back of the end zone there.
It's one of those moments where you make a defensive
Really good.
See Gaugler on the near sideline as they swing it back instead. Mercy across. And Riedel shoots for the end zone. And steaming in and stealing it away is Magnus Wilson.
Yeah, Magnus Wilson did a great job there. Wasn't his man, but was able to come over in time and just extend one of those long arms out and take it away.
Conrad Wilson down the line to Cartwright. And an inside scooping shot to Williams. Audrey Williams, a real rising star. Wilson. Conrad Wilson, number 15. Seems to be a pit call downfield, Sean.
Yeah, just slowing everything down slightly. GB were off to the races, so see if they can carry back on after the stoppage.
Bignell back to Wilson. Just so calm at the center point of that offense. And then the throwaway downfield.
Yeah, uncharacteristic for Modiano, usually one of the more reliable handlers on this GB D line, but you saw them creating space, clearing space for each other very well there. And now go back to, it looks like just a straight match, not in the zone, but another turnover, and GB hands on it again.
So Modiano gets a second look to the end zone, and that's one too many. Williams for the score.
Yeah, that's just an unfortunate error from Switzerland, who've had a frustrating tournament so far. I think they've had a few games where they were in tight, they were tight games, they had an opportunity to win, and just a couple of personal errors kind of took it away from them. So they're going to be looking to work on that ahead of their pre-quarters match tomorrow. But like you say, Lorcan, you can't give GB opportunities like that. I mean, that's within the Brit mark, and GB don't turn those things down very frequently.
When you talk about some of those frustrating losses, you look at Switzerland, they only have one win so far, and that includes a loss to Denmark in their initial pool. So you have another look at that shot from Modiano to Rodri Williams.
Williams actually one of the players I wanted to bring up. You said earlier the English zone. Rodri Williams, Welsh, so not all English. There's a couple of guys here, Scottish guys, one of them on the line at the moment, number 7, Andrew Warnock. Joel Terry on the D-line, based in Scotland, although I think he was born in England. But yeah, there's a bit of diversity from across the British Isles.
I mean,
one island, really. It's all on one island, but you know what I mean.
The North Atlantic Isles.
The North Atlantic, the British Isle, no plural.
Yeah, I don't think Shetland. Sure, Orkney and Shetland are looking to join Norway these days, so. And the Isle of Man has always considered itself its own entity, and I think everyone else is kind of happy to let them do that.
Absolutely. Manx people, you go ahead and do that. It's a very nice place, but windswept, and I don't like motorbikes that much, so I'm not really welcome on the Isle of Man.
Right now, the Swiss not finding themselves very welcome on this Limerick field as they are 3-0 down to the power of GB. They're going to have to go back to work and try and find some new options. Bergeron. And these quick little movements, right now being led by Bush. It's what they'll need to pull off to get back into it. That gets a tip from Ollie Gordon, but just the tip, as now the Swiss still in possession and moving down with a little bit more speed. Ebbinger spreads it across. So, some developments. But they keep getting stymied after a couple of successful passes. Ebbinger, again with the disc, looks to lead into the end zone. Bergeron shoots, and it bounces. And that second bit attempt was never really going to land inbounds for Niamh.
No, even if that's landing inbounds and it's coming right on his head, he's been marked by Sam Cameron, who's one of the best GB players in the air, so it was always going to be a tough proposition for him.
Gordon. Leading pass down and immediately picked up again. GB just firing back, lightning quick. Terry had that fantastic grab earlier. Let's see what he can do with the disc in hand. Shaken down by Ethan Morel, with a young rising star, Modiano. Morel makes the hop, skip, and score at the front corner.
GB just really doing a good job of finding a weak point in the Swiss D and just running through it at great pace. They were on halfway in seconds, matter of seconds. They did really, really well, making sure the Swiss couldn't set that D, couldn't get in front of the disc. And by the time the Swiss are able to set it, they're already on the Brit mark, and it's just really, really tough to stop from there. But we did see Ollie Gordon out there, GB kind of bringing out some of the O-line boys as well.
That's another look at the bobble in the end zone. Unfortunate. And now we were talking, you know, Sam Cameron, I believe originally from Canada, but has been in England for quite a while now, coaching Bristol.
Yeah, Bristol Women and Bristol University. He's been doing a lot of kind of work in the community there in Bristol. He's playing for Bristol Open this year. Played for Chevron last year, but he's decided to kind of stay in Bristol, along with Andrew Warnock, also just moved to Bristol from Scotland. So Bristol Open, one of the kind of upcoming teams in the UK. Could expect to see them challenging at nationals and potentially pushing for a place at UCF in Wrocław. So that'll be interesting to see.
Definitely want to give a shout out to the Rats. I currently live in Bristol. Lovely group of boys. That disc floating down, so let's see how the Swiss can try and find their feet. Because right now, they are in danger of being blown out. Sends it back into the middle. Müller. Holmeyer. Under an awful lot of pressure. Eventually he's able to almost get it back to Müller. I thought that leading pass was going to work out, but even the acrobatic Müller couldn't get his hands around it. And here come GB again. So quick, so deflating to play against them. Cartwright makes a move down the line, looking for the catch, but I think that was a turnover.
Yeah, it looks like Joel Terry just pushed it a little too far, trying to hang it up for Cartwright to run onto, but just pushed it too far out of bounds. Couldn't quite reel it in.
The Swiss, quick to get back to action. So that much in of itself is encouraging. Cycling back. Still nothing really becoming available for significant gains. They have to work so hard to gain 5 meters. And there's the big shot, trying to arc it towards the other sideline. There's going to be a call of contact. I don't think Danielle Immersi enjoyed that from Rodri Williams.
No, it looks as though he's just saying, watch the contact in future. You can see why Rodri Williams certainly did extend that arm out and kind of lean into him. But I think this is the right call. He was never getting that Frisbee anyway. It was a little too far away. So just make the point. Ask him to look for the contact in future and keep the game moving.
Bignell, Terry goes down the line for him. Bignell leads. Terry winds up, but puts it back in the box. Bignell. Circular layout bid. Those are pretty rare. Puts it across to the opposite side. Williams has Wilson. Finds him. And then a nice inside scoop to Haynes. Back. So GB not quite as lightning quick as they normally are. Wilson. Pick called downfield. That's Hillman getting called for cutting through the stack.
Yeah, you can see GB really focused on getting it at the front of the stack here, but they are getting opportunities. It's just the Swiss marks doing a good job limiting them.
And that shot from Wilson, a bit overcooked.
Yeah, just over the head of his receiver, knocked away by the Swiss. GB, a couple of mistakes on this point. They're moving it pretty nicely, but the Swiss are doing a good job limiting them now.
But they still struggle to make it past halfway, yet to do so with possession. Basically just that huck that went off. Loading up, thinking about the deep shot, deciding against it. Immersi is forced to fake before popping it back to Riedel. And now Müller rips one deep. He's searching for Gerber and he gets him.
GB did a really good job limiting things there, but you could see at the end of that point, the Swiss had a bit more energy maybe than the British guys did. You could see a few hands on knees here, a few people tired. They had a few guys who've been on for a few points with the D-roll they were on, and Switzerland did a great job once they got it onto this break side, running down the break side and using the more space you have when the force isn't around there to throw into nice areas. And that deep shot, Conrad Wilson's a big, tall guy. Getting it past him is no mean feat, and it's a really, really good shot.
Another look at Gerber's pirouette bid. And Wilson's overshot.
There's a couple of GB O-line lads on that point as well. Haynes and Cartwright, both on GB's O-line, so they are taking a rest here.
Lovely shot from Muller. Big OI.
And it's on a dime, isn't it? There's no way Wilson, even with those long arms, can contest it. Only person that's going to hit is the receiver in stride.
Receiver in that instance, Chad Gerber. 30 years old and originally from North Carolina.
Yeah.
So his current city is actually Asheville, North Carolina. He's a high school French and PE teacher. So a little shout out to any Americans who might be watching us, those in the Triangle area. An absolute hotbed for Frisbee talent. Long. Gets it down to Mead. Mead finds Ford on the far sideline and gets it back quickly afterwards. Mead centers it into Yo. Yo was running there for the quick continuation, followed shortly by Ford with a patented scuba over the top to Ollie Gordon for the goal.
Yeah, we said after the first Swiss D point they maybe had to go back to the drawing board with the zone, but there was no drawing done, I think, in the intervening period there. Lorcan still struggling to put pressure on the disc. GB didn't get into any difficult situations there. Being on a sideline against the passive zone like that is not really too much of an issue, and leaving a receiver, the talent of Ollie Gordon, open on the front corner of the end zone, not the best of strategies, I wouldn't say.
Drawing a bit of a blank, the Swiss. Something I really respect about Ford. I mean, he's been considered the best, and if not the best, one of the best players in Europe for a very long time now. Always throws scoopers. And you'd think more people would take that as an inspiration. It's like, oh, I want to work as hard as him. I want to be as committed. I want to be a leader like he is. Yeah, but what about the part where he's throwing scoopers all the time?
Yeah, he's still top of his game, still learning, still adding things. He's been around, as you say, Lorcan for a long time, but not ready to take his pension yet. He is still fighting through and still one of the best players of this tournament.
I think that's a matter of being on the perch. You have to wait to be knocked off it. And a couple of people might have wobbled him over the years. Lafada, perhaps even Ranelagh last year, but no one has been able to truly replace him.
To be the man, you have to beat the man.
Nobody's done that at European level. There's the big shot all the way downfield. It might just go too far ahead. Jan-Philipp Pollmeyer chasing after it unsuccessfully.
I like the option, the idea. It's there. There was a gap between Cameron and Wilson, but the gap is extremely small given their aerial abilities, so it would have had to be absolutely perfect. But as tactics go, I mean, they've been struggling to move it against that GB pressure, pretty much engulfed by the zone up to this point. So trying to go in one pass, get your D-line back out there. I don't hate the idea, you know.
Sometimes those are the kind of energizing plays you need. We're just going to come out here with a set play, set up the deep look, but we do know GB have a couple of different defensive structures designed explicitly to stop that approach.
Yep.
Centered into Warnock. Spread quickly across. So Modiano on the far sideline. See Andrew Warnock working well with the give goes alongside Andrew Hillman. Modiano, Warnock. Hillman. And Warnock. They're just happy to keep passing it back around each other. It's almost like an arrowhead zone by the Swiss O-line. So perhaps preparing for the worst when putting together this composition. Warnock seems very comfortable against it so far. Hillman. Big swing across to Slaughter. And Slaughter throws that. It's got a lot underneath it, but Warnock as well, and he takes it down. Back to Hillman. So frequently rescuing the overthrows of each other. Makes GB so difficult to stop. Modiano. Now they're in that red zone. That's where they are lethal. Hillman shoots around and taken down for the score.
Lovely jump cut by Sam Cameron there. He's kind of looks like he's clearing through into the end zone, and he just jumps in the air, slams that left foot down, and peels off like a flat in American football. And Andy Hillman hits him in stride for the goal. Little high maybe, not a perfect execution, but great cut, good recognition, and they slowed GB's D-line offense down a little bit there, the Swiss. It looks like a very similar thing to what the D-line was playing, but still, those handlers do look pretty comfortable.
And those are the kind of throws where against other teams you're like, good, we forced this missed throw. This is our opportunity to get the block, but GB, the caliber in their receiving core. It's just not how it works, really.
Yeah, Sam Cameron has to go up for that, but he's certainly able to do that. He's played a big role for this team since joining it this year. One of the main guys playing deep in the zone, as we see GB come back out and again cross some guys over. Will Rowledge and Robbie Haynes back out, O-line players for this squad, but they're out on this D-line now.
And I think that's just a matter of they want to get players out there, give them a bit of stretch of their legs.
Yep, definitely.
When covering the Americans at under 24s, they had a policy everybody's got to play 8 points a game, which meant by the time they were generally 9-10 points into a game, the offensive players started swapping over to D-line.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a quick throw back to Gadamian. Gadamian sitting at the center of that offense, which is a rough place to be against the Brits sometimes. Vili, Gadamian working back there. Spread across. Gassenmeyer. Gadamian thinks about the hammer. Looking perhaps to call a little bit of a double team there for a second. Decides against it. Gassenmeyer, a beautiful break backhand. Vili. Back to Gassenmeyer. And across one more time to Neve. Neve didn't like those two open throws to Gassenmeyer. So just taking his time, waiting. Not trying to force anything. Vili. Neve. Swing across. That's going to be uncontested, I imagine.
And we hear the call for GB to come out of the zone, I believe, so they're back to match now.
Neve. Getting it to Gassenmeyer. Gassenmeyer with a quick scoop pass. Ebbinger. Neve goes down the line. Forced to go for the greatest. It's floating. Lots of people underneath it. Somebody's going to finish a highlight play. And rather disappointingly, it's Conrad Wilson. Nothing against him. It's just that was the expected outcome. Haynes. Wilson. Doesn't launch it. Has Terry down the line. Gives him a little scoop pop. And then he hits the front corner and Rowledge.
You accused me of some homerism earlier. Lorcan, I see some bias coming out there, but that was a really, really good point by the Swiss, up to the point where we had the turnover there, just a little too far. Great attempt, to be fair. But one thing I just want to say was the breakthrough that we talked about to get out the end zone. So against that zone, you have handler marks, and then you've got the diamond upfield. You've got one person. You need to split that person. Otherwise, they can just stand in that space and ruin your whole game. If you split that person, one person each side, they have to make a decision on who to cover. And you saw the Swiss handler look at somebody and throw it to the other one. That no-look pass is really, really, really useful in situations like that, where you've got I think it was Mark Bignell up close, reading your eyes, and if you throw it the way that you're not looking, it's going to be open every time.
The problem is it's not that easy to throw at something you're not looking at.
There is that. That is the only obstacle. It's the only obstacle in that plan.
Well, you know how frequently blindness is your only obstacle. Shouldn't hold you back.
The size of the obstacle, yes, is relatively substantial, but still, you know what I'm saying. It was a good tactic, and yeah, like I say, it was nice offense from the Swiss. Just unfortunate they pushed it a little too far on one side.
No, the no-look throw, this kind of belongs to the same class as the scooper. I mean, it might be seen as kind of a thing to be a little bit showboaty, but when it's called for, it's essential.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're going against zones, and how many quality offensive players do that fake to kind of draw the attention in of the zone, force them one way, and then throw it to the other direction. Something they will be hoping to do. And let's see if the Swiss can learn how to play a little bit more effectively against this GB zone, as they're currently 7-1 down.
we are Hive Ultimate, a group of players and coaches from all over the world working together to progress the next generation of Ultimate strategy. We've helped top teams win world championships and new teams introduce the sport in a fun and inclusive way. Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn more about our cutting-edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
Welcome back, everybody enjoying this Ultimate from home. Pulamaya thinks about launching one, puts it back in his pocket for now. As now we see the GB coming out with match defense, and it works out for them.
We talked about no-look pass. That was a no-look block from Andrew Warnock, just swiping his hand when he thought the disc was going to be there.
Telepathic.
Absolutely.
Almost telekinetic. You really are fighting just about everything and when you're going up against GB. So now they're on the end zone line looking to take half. Magnus Wilson floats it over the top. Is that Sam Cameron picking it up for the goal?
That is a real, you can tell when a team's kind of a little bit down and not fully feeling it, because Sam Cameron is standing in wide open space. Magnus Wilson actually had time to extend his arm out, cock the Frisbee back, and then make the decision to throw it. Like, it felt like he had 2 seconds to throw that, and no one was anywhere near it. Great D from Andrew Warnock, as we see there.
Just reading the eyes. And then this is the shot. Wilson collects, Magnus Wilson.
See here, he's looking there, thinking about it. There we go, nice and easy. No one anywhere near Sam Cameron. The Swiss D there, a little too soft, blancmange-like.
Yeah, taking their lessons from their cheese, and that's a poor instructor in this particular instance, as they go down 8-1 at half, although we have seen GB take some commanding leads into half. So the Swiss got an opportunity to fight back, and like you say, to prepare themselves for the presumably Danes, who they'll be facing in the pre-quarter tomorrow.
Looks that way, yeah. So they'll be wanting to come out in the second half and try and get themselves up for it, to give themselves some momentum going into that game.
It remains to be seen if they can. GB 8, Switzerland 1.
Yes, he will.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
The Secret Shuffle app, a fantastic way for you to have fun with your friends and bring a little bit of windmill into your parties.
You won that as a prize, I believe, didn't you, Lorcan? Pub quiz?
I did, by coming second in the pub quiz with my wonderful team that we definitely didn't put together as the quiz progressed.
What a team.
It was a little bit annoying. You have people join your team late on and tell you what you got wrong, but that's what we're doing right now for the Swiss. And going off those stats, what really jumps out to you the Swiss could improve upon in the second half?
Obviously, you look at things like no clean holds. They've only held once, and that was with a turnover. They hadn't yet had a break chance. There's only been 3 turns from GB, and they're all on the D-line. GB doing a really good job of getting those turns, but to be fair, break chances 9. Clean holds only 2, so you know GB could maybe clean that up slightly. The D-line is doing a good job finding space, but a few execution errors as they get close to the end zone, so you want to tighten up there. But the Swiss, I mean, we saw them take some chances. I talked about one of the hucks over there where don't hate the option, you try and get momentum for your team. They just need something to kind of get them going. You know, we saw that last point go in just before half. You can see their heads are down, they're not fully there, not running as hard as they might have been earlier in the game because they're a little bit beaten down. So we just need something to get them going. And I think if we can get a clean hold, we can turn the offense into the GB offense into a break chance. Something like that would really help them, I think.
And if you're looking to get going on the ultimate pitch, then there's only one footwear for you, and that is Toke. Play like you're not wearing cleats. The only cleats that are specifically made for Ultimate, find them everywhere you find Ultimate. Of course, that's just taking care of your shoes. If you want to look the best you possibly can, then Force Ultimate Apparel dresses the Irish, French, and Swedish teams, our ULTI.TV crew, wearing our beautiful swag, and the whole tournament staff and volunteer crew. They are everywhere in Europe, and they are now powering us to bring you on-screen stats, much like those ones we were just going through right there. And of course, what would this sport be if it wasn't for the plastic we've dedicated our lives to? And that is brought to us by Eurodisc, now in America and Australia, as well as obviously its long-standing position in Germany. Eurodisc going international as we continue to bring you international action here from Europe's premier sporting campus, the University of Limerick. The Treaty County looking to treat ye to some top quality games all week long. Right now we're watching the Swiss trying to fight their way back in against the Brits. And it all starts off with a completed pass. Where can they go from here? Schwarz centers it back in. Mercy. The quick pop and return. So still the Mercy. Almost getting totally immersed by that GB defense. But pivoting, not letting it rest. We were talking about how they could do with a little bit more lying. How much is that GB defense just contracting in upon them?
Yeah, it's really limiting everything they can do, and they've gone through it twice and then gone back into the cup. So they're just going back into the teeth of the defense. That's exactly what GB are going to want them to do.
Mueller gets it to Schwarz on the sideline, receives it. He wants to get it back to a Mercy. Circles the blade around to Schwarz. That was a nice, inventive throw, and about the only way they've gained any actual yards.
This is it, then back into the cup.
Now throwing through it. A little bit better. Now they're past it. Can they keep going? Schwarz trying to play downfield. That throw well shut off by Modiano. They go back to Mueller and now a Mercy. So Mercy tries to get it down the line. Does so there or thereabouts. Paul Maya. Paul Maya marked by Hillman. Bignell even, sorry. And there's the miscommunication in the drop. I think both Schwarz and Gaugler thought the other was going for it. Now Terry has it. And that was almost a momentary miscommunication and leaves a door open. Reese rising through it to get the block. And that's got to energize you a little bit. And Mercy floats it back into the hands. Schwarz. Riedel. Nothing really happening downfield. They're forced to go for these dangerous around passes in a second greatest attempt. I think there might be a foul call.
Looked to me to be relatively incidental from where we are, although we are a fair distance away. But there was a moment there where the Swiss were doing a really nice job. I think you're right, Lorcan. That layout block, which was absolutely excellent, definitely energized them, got them moving. They broke through the cup, and they were moving it really nicely before that unfortunate turnover. But then they slowed down again, and when they slow down, when the Swiss lose the energy in the disc, GB are absolutely shutting them down. The Swiss just have to keep that movement up somehow. It's easier said than done against the D this good, but that's the thing that's really, really killing them at the moment.
And GB look to go back quickly. Wilson resets it to Hillman, down the line to Williams. Williams shoots to the open space and the wide open Robbie Haynes.
Yeah, I mean, Roger Williams is a great cutter, but there's no one within 3-4 meters of him there. And it's the shot to Robbie Haynes, who's a great cutter when being marked, but when there's no mark on him either, it's pretty basic stuff. So GB just slicing through the Swiss D there.
I feel like Modiano made a cut and was equally open, just kind of held his hands up. Why you looking me off and then turned around and went, oh, because there's a great shot into the end zone. So you just have another look at it.
You see Roger Williams, there's no one anywhere near him. He's got loads of time to pick his spot, and Robbie Haynes, there's no one anywhere near him either.
So running hard and kind of running off the Swiss right now. And again, it's just about staying locked in mentally if you're the Swiss and finding something that can energize you and push you forward. I mean, I would say I'm going to have to obviously censor myself. It's about just like give a...
Quite. Yeah. It's just a bit, it's easy, like I said, about getting the energy moving against the GBD. It's easier said than done. When you are losing, when you are 9-1 down, when you can feel the game slipping away from you as you're playing it, it's difficult to get that energy going. But they've got to find a way to do it.
Jordy cycles it back to Neve. Jordy and Neve working nicely together. A little bit of Bergeron in there as well. Caselli just about holding on to that, and another big bid. No call as well. That was a clean bid by Declan Cartwright.
Yeah, it looks like he's just got his finger to it just before the receiver, and it bobbled in and out of the receiver's hands because of the contact. Great contact on the disc, I should say. Great bid.
Quick reload to Mead. Stepping onto the D-line as well. Well, certainly no stranger to hard graft defense. Wilson. And there's Mead. He always wanted it up the line. Now he gets it with, I think, enough time to chase it. Is he able to tap that in? He is immediately called in. Nice show of spirit by Viek. And then Mead just looks to shoot Wilson down the line himself for the 10-1 lead.
Great feat by James Mead to keep that in. And a nice shot to Conrad Wilson, the two of them working well there. Conrad Wilson, who was an O-line player for Clapham and was definitely part of the O-line, I think, early in this team's development. But they moved him onto the D-line to kind of help the D-line offense a bit. He's done a really good job dictating things, taking shots, kind of taking a lot of responsibility on this line after the turnovers. And you see exactly why he's on there on that point.
So that was the bobble but saved by Noah Caselli. And then immediately followed up by the incredible layout block of Cartwright.
Makes up a lot of space there, doesn't he? He's quite far away when the throw leaves the hand. He makes up a lot of space very, very quickly and is able to extend all the way out to get a finger on it.
GB do that so well. That was Mead following his nice little toe tap performance. And then just finds Wilson again. So technically a 1-2, almost a give-go, but a give-go that covered about 30 meters.
30 meters and featured an incredibly difficult toe tap. But yeah, you are right. You are right. We've got Ollie Gordon coming out here on the D-line again. I wonder if there's like a level of seniority with GB. We haven't seen Ashio or Justin Ford, for example, or Ben Funk. I don't think we haven't seen them come out on D-lines. Are they like... I know when my coaches say to me, you haven't played in a while, in the rare occasions where we're winning heavily, you haven't played in a while, do you want to go out on a D-line? My answer is absolutely not, but thank you for asking.
I'm more than happy to just cheer them on from here. And that's kind of another example of the imbalance that exists between O and D-line. Because if you're on the D-line, you don't get on for a few points, you start to get antsy. You're just watching your team concede point after point. You're like, just let me go on there and get the disc.
Whereas when I'm not playing, I'm delighted.
As are your opponents. Sean Culfer, deceptively good at ultimate. I said deceptively. Back into the middle of the pitch and Mark Schwartz swings it across. So again, good resets initially. That time a mercy to Gaugler. And then the shot into the middle of the pitch, Gerber. I can see Culver beside me just urging them, please, somebody. You've got to keep that going. You can't just rest after one successful pass. Reese back to Schwartz. Schwartz wanted the break on one side, had to turn it down on both. He did manage to drop Slaughter to his knees at least, Mueller. And then Slaughter just comes in on top of his feet. Gets that quickly, Slaughter, Terry. Oh, I thought they were just going to pop it back in. Instead, they holster it, taking their time, and then Morel, Terry, okay.
Yeah, I think maybe Hayden Slaughter could have got there if Joel Terry puts it in. It might have been close, but a Swiss defender does close that down and make it difficult. But Switzerland there, they did have energy. They had quick movement in the disc, but then they turned down a couple of things. Their cuts were slightly too late. And when the cuts are slightly too late, that means you can't take advantage of the break side. That means you slow down. and that means that you look for an easy open side pass that Hayden Slaughter sees in your eyes is coming, and he is. I think Hayden Slaughter on this GB team is not their best match defender. He's not their best defender in his own, but he is one of the best on this GB team, and probably I think in Europe, at just making stuff happen on the D-line. He reads the game so well, and he's always there to make things happen. Always there to get blocks. I remember the Windmill final a few years ago where the Huck goes over everyone's head. Who's there reading it beautifully, laying out to catch it? Hayden Slaughter. He's just really good at being in the right place at the right time.
A hyper-literate man, which is a rarity coming from the University of Sussex. But as his prodigious, should we say, athleticism has slowly left him over the years, you're exactly right. He's only gotten smarter and sharper, and as hard as it is to believe, almost more deadly in that defensive position.
Yeah, so with the understanding of the game he has, you could lose 3 steps of foot speed because you're in a better place, you're in a better position, you can read the game better, you know, you can be there quicker even if you can't run as fast.
Life's little ironies. As the Swiss once again go back at it. Neve swings it across to short. Oh. So that was Vili. Back to Neve. Vili. And then again, that's slightly better, trying to jump through it almost. Gadamian. Vili and Neve. And then back into Neve. I can feel Colfer nodding in approval when they start to get things moving a little bit quicker. Now Neve bobbles it but catches it, forcing the melt from GB. There's the reset back across. Gadamian. Vili.
They're doing so much better here at getting GB out of that zone. This has happened a few times now that the GB have put that zone on to try and slow them down, but they've got through the cup, opened the field up, got GB into match. They just need to take advantage of this now. This pick might have come at a really bad time for them.
So Gadamian. I thought he was just going to immediately send that one, but you can see Wilson hovering around in the backfield. Said they go down the line to Vik. A quick reset. Neve has Vili, goes to the beautiful lefty backhand all the way across and collected. Nice stuff by the Swiss, showing a bit of fanciness.
I thought for a moment that the Swiss player wasn't happy with the contact and had thrown the Frisbee at Tom Cartwright, but he is apologising for throwing at him. But that is exactly what Switzerland needed. They played offense with more pace. That lefty backhand straight down the line, that is an incredibly difficult shot. The space you're throwing into there is very narrow. He's put it over the mark, into space for the receiver. Absolutely outstanding play. As we see the dump that may have stymied them, but in the end, it was fine. Justin Ford here, out on a D-line. We were talking about that. But this throw here, tiny gap to throw it into, and that is angled perfectly. Exactly the right amount of weight to get past the defender. That's a really good score for Switzerland.
Libazewski.
He did show him the disc.
I mean, maybe that's the energizing play that you need. You know, you're, oh, good. So it's gone from 11-1 to 11-2. We're supposed to paint this game 1 point at a time, and Libazewski showing off there. You see the Swiss have, I mean, in and around, close enough to double the passes.
Yeah, what's that, 1.6, 1.7 times? A lot more. A lot more.
A lot more.
Scientific. Maths, a lot more. But that's just the amount of passes they're being forced to make in this zone, and then GB turn it over, and they're just sending it deep quickly. Express way to score.
Or down the line, but or give goal with toe taps and leading passes, but everything they do is so aggressive. As Yo's out here. Of course, this is an O-line point, so returning to the 4. Funk as well. Ford. And Mead. Back to Ford. Fakes the overhead, which of course you have to respect. Funk doesn't want the quick pop to Mead. Goes to Ford instead. So the swish. Almost in a zone themselves, as I assume that's the call for them to meld, as you can hear it echo across the sidelines. Mead gets it to Yo. Yo, a phenomenal receiver in his own right. Mead to Ford. It's been a lot of those 3 players, and Funk comes out, maybe feeling a little bit left out for a few passes. Rowditch makes a cut, but prefers to go back to Ford and just receive it himself. And there's the attack, front corner, Ollie Gordon, the OG himself.
Nice zone from Switzerland to slow them down slightly, but as soon as GB got them out into match, while it took them a few passes, they had to move it around, dump it, adjust the angle slightly. It never looked like they were in too much trouble. They had some space. There was never really an opportunity for a Swiss player to be bidding for it. But, you know, a lot of passes there. What was that? 20-ish passes, 20 passes?
It was more than we've seen them have to throw so far in this game. A lot of that was just dump recycling.
Yeah.
Ford, Funk, Mead, Yo in the backfield, and then once the melt happened, they again just continued to recycle a little bit so they wouldn't get caught. I always love that moment of chaos right after a zone melds, and I think that's where a lot of turns can really be generated.
Absolutely, absolutely. That transition is really where you got a lot of joy, because people are trying to fit things into windows that existed 10 seconds ago that don't exist now. But GB did a really good job there of spacing. We've been seeing Switzerland have some issues with spacing where their cutters and their handlers get disconnected, and then the handlers have to work it with 4 defenders around them. But GB did a good job there. A couple of people staying close to the 3 or 4 that were running it, stretching the deep out all the way, and you have to respect it, because when the deep person is Ollie Gordon, you can't just leave him alone. So did a good job offensively there. And now we see the Swiss come back out.
A little bit more of a traditional D-line by GB. But again, going with that initial zone look. Try and stymie, suffocate, frustrate the Swiss offense. See if they've gained any confidence from their last outing. Bergeron, Deneve, Villy, back into Neve, Bergeron, and Neve again. So they're just recycling back and forth, but not really gaining any significant distance, Sean.
Absolutely. We talked about disconnecting. GB have done that to them again. They've disconnected the handlers and the cutters are just getting no space and not getting any opportunities to get it, as we see a little pop over the top of the cup, but then back into the cup.
Just really enjoy tea, it would seem, as we are bringing you this game in around tea time for all of our fans on British Standard Time. Villy. Neve, nice little fake to get it to Gadamian. They don't take on that gainer to throw it further down the field. Bergeron. I like when people cut with their hands in front of their chest for a little clap catch. I think Hayden Slaughter was just lying in wait to strike and get that block. Bergeron appreciated it and didn't send it. Neve. GB have melted into a match defense. It's going to be a pick called downfield.
Yeah, we've seen the last few points when GB flip into this match, Switzerland just can't really find much space, and I don't know what the stall is here, but it must be relatively high. We've got the stack a long way away as well. This is going to be a tough situation for the thrower. Well, the stall's not as high as I thought, but still, this is a tough situation here.
So immediately he looks. Gadamian's going to need a brilliant break to get it to him, and that's exactly what he receives. I think Wilson got a little bit lost down the field on a switch. Caselli tries to launch it front corner, and that's a beautiful inside shot.
Ooh, what a throw. It's an absolute bullet. I thought he maybe snatched at it, and the angle of the release wasn't quite right, and he was going to hit the turf, but he has absolutely ripped that into the front corner. That's a fantastic throw.
Great catch by Wieck. Right in his chest, but sometimes when they're coming at you that fast, it's easy to drop. So we've seen the Swiss have some great throws, but just being made to look rather amateurish right now.
It's just so difficult when because everyone on this GB line the GBD line is, most of them are quite tall, they're very athletic, long arms, you know, they can move laterally very quickly. They just block off these throwing lanes so quickly. And I mean, that is a no hesitation rip. If he hesitates at all there, Hayden Slaughter's going to cover that space up. And that just shows you the margins you have to play in when you're playing a team that's talented.
Right now, Switzerland's starting to scribble in the margins just a little bit.
A little bit. Just colouring in's going slightly outside the lines, you know?
But they need to do something outside of their comfort zone, because right now they just look, or at least on previous points, they looked rather uncomfortable. Noah Kessely with that one. So 2 offensive holds in a row, though, for them.
Bit of trading now. This is what the Swiss need. It's what they'll be after. Good to see.
If they could get into a bit of a laissez-faire approach to this game, maybe that's one way of responding to the pressure that the British put on you.
Wonder if they're going to be coming out here with that zone again. It does look quite matchy. Try something else, try something different, try and force GB to adapt again. If you make them think, hopefully that works.
An immediate shot to Mead, who started his cut from far behind the disc. I think that was to attack Reese's poach in the open lane. Gordon throws it down the line to Yo. Yo doesn't want the disc to Ford, gives it to Gordon instead. Mead goes down the line. Looked off initially. Yo makes the same cut but shorter. And then a quick pop into Ford. My goodness, they made that look easy.
They did. That cut from Mead is something, for those of you who've seen GB Open at this tournament, that we've seen a few times, starting out in a 3-4 set with the horizontal stack very deep, and then one of the handlers just slicing across the front, either delaying, flipping back the other way like we saw Sam Cameron do in the end zone, or just continuing all the way and you get a nice breakout from one of these handlers who can throw basically anything. But yeah, that was very efficient offense from GB.
Efficiency, something that is synonymous with these GB Open teams. For a long time at this point, they do what they do very, very well, much to the chagrin of a lot of other European nations.
Like where, Lorcan?
I would say the Germans.
Oh yeah, they
come pretty close. The Italians.
They have some chagrin. Them too.
The French. They're famously
anyone closer to home?
People.
Anyone close to home for you, maybe?
I said the French. The Scots.
I knew you. I was about
Warnock's
to say,
probably there, just going. Oh, this doesn't.
I was about to say, don't
me.
say the Scots, but you did it. You did it anyway.
Well, they're a contentious people, Sean.
It's true. It's true.
They ruined Scotland.
Andrew Warnock playing on the D line to channel that contentious, furious energy.
Justin Ford, still just so good.
Oh yeah.
Maybe forever. You know, some things last so long. He was revered when I entered the sport, and that was I don't know, years ago. So, as the Swiss look to find a way back into this game, or certainly into this point, like we say, they've still got some important games ahead of them, so they cannot let their heads drop as they try to raise this scoreline. And a nice little scuba over the top. That's the kind of imagination they need to have a little bit more of, although they do seem like they went right back into the cup afterwards.
They're right back into the cup, but we have melted now to match, so they are out of the zone. But then a wayward dump and GB are off and running.
And launching it, and that's just going to sit. Goodness gracious me, that thing was beautiful.
Out of the hand, it looked like it was too flat, but the ex-Alba teammates, before Warnock moved down south, linking up with an absolutely beautiful score there. Joel Terry just running onto it, had a time to have a seat, put the tablecloth on the table, get out the knife and fork, eat his dinner, and then catch it. Such was the spin on that throw from Warnock. Beautiful stuff.
On a platter. Like some fine haggis.
Yes, fine haggis. Do you ever have vegetarian haggis, Lorcan? It's delicious. It's very good stuff. It's nice.
Sounds like a lie.
Well, obviously it's not actually haggis.
Yeah, so what's the point of calling it haggis then? What makes it haggis?
It's actually made in a tofu stomach.
Oh, okay. From tofu sheep?
Exactly.
Do vegetarians dream of tofu sheep?
I've never dreamed of a tofu sheep, no.
Maybe you will. If you just, are you allowed to eat cheese? You a vegan or vegetarian?
Vegetarian.
Okay, so yeah, could happen. You eat too much cheese.
Perhaps. I'll dream of tofu sheep. But a nice point by the GBD line. Warnock having himself a game, playing very well in the front of that zone. GB trying to put this game to bed.
Was that a phenomenal pull, or did that land just out of bounds?
I believe that landed in, and they're taking it from the front.
Just trapping them on the front corner. No remorse.
Although the GBD has sagged off a bit, so maybe it did land just out.
There's a lot of pointing happening on the far sideline by Slaughter and Alcock.
Oh no, Moriano's going down there. It did land in. There we go. What a pull that is.
I've seen a lot of pulls this week so far where you're like, that's your puller?
Yeah.
But that was very well executed.
Yeah, it really was.
I love a good pull. Schwartz, probably less of a fan of it in this instance. Sends it into the middle, Mercy. Isolated momentarily, but able to get it off to Gogler. Mercy, and again, just not that much movement happening outside of the immediate 5 to 10 meters in front of the Swiss. It's not giving them an opportunity to try too much, and GB so good at stifling you. Sharing responsibility between their defenders. That was a good cut by Gogler, but then there's no continuation. And so many of those lanes are clogged, they're forced to go for incredibly difficult throws like that. And you can feel the pressure from here.
You really can. It's so stifling. The Swiss are doing everything they can. They're trying to look at the break side, they're looking at inside lanes, but GB is just taking everything away.
Modiano Pointing where he wants Terry to go, just waits for him to clear out and then gets the easy pop back around. Receives it immediately back and into the center to Morel. Back to Modiano. They swing, they cycle, they score. I think that's going to be accepted.
Yeah, looks like it's in. Deck Cartwright dragging his toes as he caught it. Another efficient performance from the GBD line, and the GBD line has been absolutely sensational in this game. Switzerland doing everything they can, struggling to keep the momentum going, struggling to keep the pace going in the disc, and GB just continuing with their run and taking a dominant and very well-deserved win.
They handled their business in that particular instance, and demoting the Swiss, who were already on their way to a pre-quarter, as I believe you've illustrated, against Denmark.
Yes.
GB remain undefeated and seem to be going from strength to strength with each game.
They do, they do. We saw them had some challenging games. They had a challenging game against Belgium. That went to sudden death, universe point. We saw a challenging game against Italy. That was with 2 or 3 point win, 15-12 I think it was. So they've had some tests. They haven't come through this completely unscathed, but it's been a hell of a performance, and to finish this off in less than an hour, 100-minute game, and we're not even at 40 yet. It's very, very impressive stuff as well.
They were able to even out the pass distribution between the two teams, so that's something they can take a little bit of strength from, and hopefully the Swiss can take the lessons they learned in this game, such as play a bit more expansively, set your stack a little bit further back, give yourself an opportunity, or in other words, don't give your opponents so many opportunities to poach off and suffocate you in the way that GB did, but nobody really does it like GB. They are playing championship Ultimate right now.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing for the Swiss. The games they're going to play in the immediate future are not necessarily going to be teams that can do the things that GB can do. Because you look at this here, 15 break chances for GB. They only had 4 turns in the entire game, which is extremely impressive. That's just, like you say, look, and that's championship level stuff.
Their O-line exclusively flawless holds, and there was only 4 of them.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely spectacular performance. And I hope it doesn't come across like I'm a hater. I am more trying to position myself as an iconoclast. But when you're
all
watching
those synonyms, looking.
Yeah, but at least one of them can look themselves in the mirror in the morning. Thank you so much for joining us and looking into your computer screens for what has been a very exciting day. There's still a game going on our other stream, so plenty of action, and we've still got so many games left to bring you throughout the week. We are entering the business end of the tournament, brackets all to come in mixed, open, and women's. So, for myself, Lorcan Murray, for the Encyclopedia Britannica de Ultimate, Sean Colfer, and for our ULTI.TV crew and all the fans at home, we will catch you tomorrow.
Hey, very good, boys. Business time, yeah, business time now. What time is it? 5 o'clock. It's game time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV.
Everything will turn